Now with fountain pens, there are so many ways that you can fill them with ink. There's cartridges, there's converters, there's pistons, there's levers. So today we're going to ask, why vacuum fillers? Hey everyone, I'm Dave with Beast Made Reviews, of course a channel dedicated to reviewing quality at different price points. Now I have a number of videos on fountain pens, and I love where the rabbit hole has taken me in recent years. Today though, we're going to be talking about two pens from Narwhal. And I got both of these from Goldspot Pens. They sent these to me for review, so thank you so much to them. And if you like these pens, definitely go check out the links down below. Those are affiliate links, and those will help out the channel. That does support what I'm doing here anytime you buy through those, and I always appreciate it when you do that. Thank you so much. And if you like this type of content, feel free to subscribe down below. If you like pens, if you like fountain pens, if you like EDC, anything in between, I think you'll really like it here. All right, so the original Plus is Narwhal's vacuum pen. So we're going to talk about the mechanism real quick, and I'm going to go over the specs of these pens, why you might want to buy a vacuum pen, do some writing samples, and go over everything. Now first, a little bit about Narwhal. Narwhal is a really cool pen company that is making really interesting pen designs with a very high attention to detail and quality, and also for a very good price. I have a full review of their Nautilus pen, which is a piston filler, and I featured it in some of my favorite fountain pens that I did a couple of years ago. You can go watch that video up there. Today we'll be talking about these pens right here, the original Plus. These are two versions of the pen. This one right here is more of the traditional pen design that is the original Plus, and this one right here is a very limited pen called the Rainbow Wrasse. This one was hard to make. They told me they had a very small number of pens available, so definitely check out their website for more, and good luck if you can find it. But these pens in particular are interesting because of their filling mechanism, which is a vacuum filling mechanism. So let's talk about that real quick. Now in the early days of fountain pens, they filled the pens with these sacks that filled with ink. Those mechanisms were problematic to say the least. Then Parker came along and introduced the Vacuumatic in 1932, which used a plunger to form a vacuum to suck up the ink into the pen. Now, of course, there's lots of different ways to fill a pen, but oftentimes you'll find vacuum fillers in really expensive high-end pens like the Visconti Homo Sapiens or the Pilot Custom 823. It's a flagship feature, but to use the pen for a vacuum filler, you unscrew the cap in the back, and then you pull the lever out. You take the pen, stick it in the ink, you push down on the plunger, and then you hear a very satisfying pop, and the ink fills up into the barrel of the pen just by the power of the suction made from the piston here. Sometimes you won't be able to get a full fill the first time around, you get maybe halfway, but if you just repeat the process a second time, you'll get even more ink and you'll probably get 100% filled. But even halfway gives you a lot of ink inside the barrel. But what I love in particular about vacuum fillers is that they're easy to use. For one, you understand how it works. Pulling up and pushing down, really easy. You can use it one-handed as well, which you really can't do on a lot of pens. And then you also get this really tactile sensation with the sound of the plunger popping and the look of the ink slowly rising up into the barrel. I love it, and I think it's really satisfying to watch and use. With some pens, the vacuum mechanism can be hard to clean. Sometimes there's no way to get in there and take it out and clean it, but that's not so with the Narwhal pens. You can unscrew everything, take it apart, clean it really easily, and it's just a breeze to use. I love that. All right, now let's go into the specs of these pens. Now again, these are the same specs here, other than just the color and the appointments. Now I'll go over the first one here, which is the Rainbow Wrasse, the very limited one. Now again, of course, this is a special edition for Goldspot. This one has clear, transparent acrylic with shimmer on the inside of the acrylic. There's rainbow metal appointments. There's a number 6 steel nib. This is in a 1.1 millimeter stub. Of course, it has a vacuum filling mechanism. You cannot use cartridges on these. The length closed is 5.75 inches. It's a twist-off cap with 2 twists, and then when posted, it's 6.97 inches long. The diameter is 0.51 inches, and the weight is 1.2 ounces. Now the other pen is the original Plus, and this one is in a different color. This is the summer edition color, but the original Plus has several different colors available, and this is kind of more of their standard configuration and color scheme. Of course, this is the same dimensions as the Rainbow Wrasse. The only main difference here is the color of the acrylic and the appointments, which are gold. This one here has a broad nib, and of course these have plastic feeds as well. Now I love the way these write and they feel. They are full-sized pens. These are not small pens. I wouldn't say they're huge necessarily, but they are full-size pens. These are not pocket pens. But what I love in particular about these, they're very balanced in the hand. Whenever you write with them uncapped, they still fill up your hand pretty well. The diameter is very nice, especially when you're using these for longer writing sessions. I really like these. If you have notes that you're taking, or if you're writing a letter, or if you're writing in a journal, these are great for longer writing sessions because they're so big. Now in posting the cap, I do find that it is a little bit more back weighted because of the extra weight on the back, but it still remains pretty balanced. The grip section is very nice, a little bit of a taper there and a lip at the very edge, very smooth, pretty wide, and the threads in the back there are pretty far back so your fingers don't really feel them. Love that. And for the writing sample here, I'm going to use the Rainbow Rasp first. The writing sample here, I'm using the Narwhal Ink Galaxy. It's a really beautiful blue-black color that has some gray and even some purple in there. To me, it looks like the night sky, which I think is great. And I really like it with this stub nib here. I like this stub nib on the Narwhal quite a bit. It's very smooth and it really brings out a lot of the shading here. And I think mostly I can find the angle on this. Sometimes stub nibs can be pretty sharp and hard to find the angle. And I found the angle most of the time, maybe about 80% of the time. But I really like the stub on this a lot. I find it's a very good one. Now the ink for this Original Plus, I'm using the Narwhal Ink Honeycomb, which is a beautiful orange brownish color. To me, it looks almost just like honey. It has that perfect amber hue, not too orange, not too red, not too brown. It's just right. And I really like this broad nib quite a bit. It has a good bit of feedback on here. It writes well, and I like this color a lot. There's a little bit of shading in the ink. The broad nib brings some of that out. And sometimes these orange colored inks can run a little dry, but I don't necessarily think that's the case with this ink though. The ink flow on both of these pens has been great. Not gushers, but not dry either, just in that perfect middle range. Now overall, I find the quality and the fit and the finish of these pens to be outstanding, especially at the price. The price of these, I think, is a steal for what you get. These look expensive. When you have this in your hand, it feels expensive. When you go into more details, there's nothing out of place. There's nothing sideways. There's no flashing. There's no sharp edges. Everything is smooth and rounded over. The quality is just on point. The writing experience is fantastic, and the balance and the feel is superb. I do have a couple of cons with these pens, and they're kind of quibbles, but I do have some cons here. I think maybe the ink flow on the Rainbow Rasp, especially the stub nib, is good, but not perfect. I think it could be maybe a little bit more wet and it would be even better. And I could change that with some tuning maybe, but that was my experience just out of the box without having to tune it. The other quibble here is something that I wouldn't use a lot, but that's a clip. I don't really like the clip. I don't like clips in general. I don't use them, but I find that some clips are better than others, and this is not one of the good ones I find. The clip on this is too stiff and is pretty sharp. I don't really care for that. Another kind of quibble here is just the looks. The Rainbow Rasp in particular is one of those pens that had to grow on me, but the more I used it, the more I just really liked the pen in general. The looks to some people might be a little bit outlandish, and I get that, but I ended up really liking this pen a lot. The Original Plus though is probably more my cup of tea, and this one I found suited me a lot more. They're both really the same experience, but I just like the looks a lot better on this one. Now, looks aren't everything, but I think it's totally valid to want something to not only work well, but look good as well. And I guess the biggest con here is the Rainbow Rasp may even be sold out when you get this. And this configuration, for whatever reason, they can only have a certain limited quantity, so you may not even be able to find it. But if you want a good vacuum filler, definitely check out the Original Plus. Lots of great colors there. Overall, I really love these pens a lot. I think they're fantastic. Narwhal just has a lot going for it. What keeps me coming back has been this vacuum filler. This vacuum filler, though it's not completely unique to Narwhal, Narwhal has just made a pen that is high quality, it looks great, feels great, and is so satisfying to use and just fill up with ink. I find myself filling it up with ink even when I don't need to use it, even when I haven't used it in a while. I just want to always keep it inked because it's so satisfying. So why a vacuum filler? Because they're so darn cool. They're so fun to use. They're so convenient. They are just one of the perfect filling mechanisms. Amazing. And if you want a vacuum filler pen, definitely check out the Original Plus from Narwhal and check them out from Goldspot. And while you're at it, go get one of those cute crab pen holders. Those are so cool. Thank you again for watching. If you like this type of content, you want to go see my other videos about fountain pens, you can go and watch a playlist up there. And if you want to go see some of my favorite fountain pens, including a different narwhal, go check out the video up there. Thank you again. I'll see you next time. I'm Dave with Beastmade Reviews. Bye.